It seems the advocates of hate have come back to hate, my brothers and sisters, on this episode of Monday Night Raw. Please welcome the one and only Mr. The Hater up in this mug. And we got to get
what
going.
What to do, everyone? You know what I'm saying?
This episode
Thanks for
Monday,
having me, bro.
No problem, man. This episode of Monday Night
Raw. Keep me up. They keep me young, you know?
Bro,
keep your boy young.
They definitely keep me up as well, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's close to bedtime, but we got to get to it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you got to do it, man.
Is it even worth going over this segment by segment?
Bro, I feel you completely. That's what I said in my review. Like, I was like, let's just speed run through this. You know, that's what I said. So if you want to do it, we can. I've watched the whole show, unfortunately. But if you want to just skip to the main event, we can do that too, bro.
Honestly,
however you want to run it.
Honestly, the people don't even give a damn if Braun Breaker got attacked. The people don't even give a damn about Puto Pendejo Penta against Big Fat Brunson Greed. Nobody gives a damn about that. So let's just jump into the main event. And I have to say this. This is like when you put up a cow in front of a door or two, right? So you have two doors leading into the same slaughterhouse. So you kind of give the cow the illusion of an option. But we all know the cow is just going for slaughter. And right now, if you were like, maybe like on Twitter or something like that, or like, on the news of like wrestling, maybe for like, maybe 2 days ago, like Roman Reigns came out and he said that there was like this like friction backstage with Triple H because he wanted this Mania to be Cody versus Roman 3. And, Roman said that he wanted to beat Cody clean. And wouldn't you know it? Suddenly, on a random episode of SmackDown, Cody Rhodes loses the title to Drew McIntyre. And we're going into the Royal Rumble literally without Drew McIntyre. Cody Rhodes as champion. And right now, here today, Roman Reigns has to pick two options. Drew McIntyre or CM Punk. Come on, man. That's literally what I meant with like the two, like the cow with the two doors. Obviously, you're going to pick CM Punk. But is it the same choice? Or is it going to be the same pick if it were Cody Rhodes on the equation as well?
Right, that's a good point, man. I mean, like, look, that's where I think things get interesting, right? Because you have to kind of do your due diligence and kind of respect the kayfabe, the story, the story that you've been telling for several years. Like the Cody Rhodes has to finish the story, and this would be like the story ain't done yet type of thing, right? But fundamentally, I think for the people, the story is done, right? So it's like you're gonna run it back a third time in this like no real build-up type of way because Roman Reigns, I mean, for better or for worse, he is a part-timer. So it's like if you want to do that, I think people would have a reaction to it. So it's as you said, like it's not much of a choice, especially if it's Drew McIntyre. But I think even if it's Cody, it's like, what are you gonna do with it? That's why, like, I've been thinking for the last several weeks. I'm like, there's no scenario in my mind. I mean, now it's definitely possible, but I'm like, there's no scenario in which Drew McIntyre is still the champ, right? But could you imagine if like Sami Zayn won? You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine that? Like, if you're like, is he gonna choose Sami Zayn? You know what I mean? Like, who the hell would choose Sami Zayn?
Honestly, bro, if Sami Zayn was champion, come out of the Royal Rumble, like I think my wife would have to scrape my brains off the walls, bro, because like that shit was like unbearable, bro. You know what I'm saying? So luckily we didn't have that.
I feel you, bro.
But I think there is this like thing going on with Triple H and Roman Reigns. Now that Roman has made his choice, I don't think it's literally like, we're in February right now. At the end of the month, we're going to have the Chamber. I don't think it's going to be that crazy that like maybe Cody's going to win the Chamber and, go to WrestleMania and get the title back. Or hell, we might even have a title match at the Chamber and Cody wins the title then. You never know. Like, no matter,
I feel you, like, No, I mean, like, the way I see it, that's exactly, in my review, it's exactly what I said. It's like, I don't see a scenario. I mean, you could find, like, some weird, maybe, like, Jacob Fatu, enters the fray, but there's no feasible scenario where now that we've established where Roman Reigns is going, that Cody Rhodes is not going to be in the other title match, right? Yeah. He's going to find his way in there somehow, likely by winning the Chamber, maybe Drew defense against, like, what's his face? Fatu, and then they have like some screwy finish. They turn into a triple threat. I think that's as creative as they can get at this point, right? Because whether Cody Rhodes wins the title from Drew at the Chamber or whether Cody Rhodes wins the right to compete at WrestleMania at the Chamber, it's the same thing, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the same thing. It's just another Cody Rhodes title match. You know, he
I
can
think
wrestle
so.
Fatu or Drew. It doesn't make a difference to me,
Yeah.
at least. You know, I don't
At
think to anybody else.
best, maybe a night one main event triple threat. But yeah, I think the problem isn't necessarily that we're having a triple threat. I don't think the problem isn't necessarily that we're having Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. I think the real problem is, and this stems from just the beginning with Roman and Cody, is just the fact that Roman, he loses his title, and it's 2 years from that point onward. And in that 2 years, Roman, he came out on an interview recently. He's like, oh yeah, which of the stars have come up? But it's like, all right, I get what you're trying to say, but like, what happened to you in the meanwhile? Because you lost your title, you lost everything, and then you come back and you tag team with Cody Rhodes 3 separate times, bro. Like, I don't get that. Like, where is your urgency to get your rematch? Because if you held the title for 4 years, why not immediately get your rematch at SummerSlam? But no, like, I don't get that. Yeah. And now we have to wait until now it's just a Royal Rumble. Now Cody isn't a champion because, the business wasn't moving fast enough. And now we got to spend another year with this filler arc, when in reality, we all know the actual championship and the actual championship storyline is between Cody and Roman. No matter if this is going to happen or if that's going to happen, ultimately we're going to come back to that, and nothing is going to move forward until then.
Right. Exactly. Like, the fact that they're 1-1 would indicate that, just by the rules of combat sports in general, right? You have to have the trilogy. You have to do that. But in the meantime, if you make decisions that they've been making, right, and just the overarching decision of kind of long-term booking, right? Well, if it becomes too long-term, then we have to wait 5 years essentially for one storyline to conclude one way or another, where they can both legitimately move on. Yeah. Now, I'm sure some detractors would say, like, well, they have moved on. Now he's going to have to CM Punk, but this feels like a filler match between them to have the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns match, especially if what you're saying is true, which I assume it is. That you saw on the dirt sheets or whatever, where the plan was Cody and Roman, right? But the idea, to me, like the issue that I have with it is that, if Roman Reigns can say something like, well, who has come up in this last year or in these last 2 years? It's nearly impossible to come up in 1 or 2 years in this modern day WWE, because everything is long-term booking. So it takes 8 months to resolve one storyline, and you can't come up, right? The best you can do is what Drew McIntyre did this year, or what I guess Seth Rollins was meant to do.
Yeah.
As I said in a previous video, in 2001, those that know, Stone Cold gets hurt. He was the top guy. He comes back, let's say 9 months later, and 8 dudes have risen to the occasion, right? 8 dudes have become Kurt Angle, Jericho to a degree. The Rock and Triple H have picked it up, right? So all these people are now moving up because they're having 6 matches a month, 2 of them being title matches, and then Stone Cold comes back and the landscape is completely different. So he has to reassert himself. He has to win the Rumble. Why would Roman Reigns need to win the Rumble? You know what I mean? Kevin Owens got 17 title shots. Why can Roman Reigns, in kayfabe, I'm saying, go to the office and be like, I want a title shot at Mania main event, make it happen? Yeah. Why can't he just do that? It's just weird,
Yeah, and so okay, you won the Rumble, and coincidentally, Cody Rhodes, who has held the title for 2 years straight, by the time Roman wins the Rumble, you're not the champion no more. Then he makes his pick, and then Cody gets the title back. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't get it. I genuinely don't understand the direction that we're going. Is it that we want to have the Raw title that's on Netflix get elevated? I mean, okay, CM Punk did that, in my opinion, to the best of his abilities.
He did. Yeah.
Triple H tried to. Yeah, Triple H tried to, with Seth Rollins beating Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel to make the Raw champion, the World Heavyweight champion, get one over on the Undisputed champion. That's 2. Yeah. And now if Roman's going to win the title, that's going to be 3. But to what end? Who's going to get the title off of Roman? I don't get that. Where are we going here?
I mean, bro, I it's impossible to know, right? One way is CM Punk just beats Roman,
Oh
but it
my
doesn't
god.
sound like that's in the
Yeah.
books, because even if what you just said, like if Roman wants to beat Cody clean and they're saying no, he's not gonna like let CM Punk beat him clean, presumably, right?
Yeah.
If he feels that type of way. But the idea is like is I think you hit the nail right on the head with like they're trying to elevate the title, and in the promo, CM Punk said that too. He flat out said that like the title makes Drew, which I agree with, and he makes the title, which I also agree with. But it's not that clear cut, right?
Yeah.
It's more like the world heavyweight title is completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
So anyone of value holding it elevates it. And Drew McIntyre has been a jobber for like 3 years, so the title can elevate him. But where do we go from here? I mean, either CM Punk wins and then we see where the hell that goes, or I don't see a scenario where Roman Reigns gets the title and then keeps it for a long time unless he wrestles or at least shows up a bit more. Because going back to that, I think people are not gonna like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
seeing like Roman Reigns like 4 times a year as the champion after
Yeah.
we've done this for 4 years, it just doesn't seem like a wise decision, you know?
And I think the most likely outcome is going to be Roman winning. And my hopeful prediction is that coming out of WrestleMania, we're going to have on the Monday Night Raw after Mania 42, we're going to have Roman Reigns with the World Heavyweight Championship come out to celebrate. And then hopefully, we're going to have Cody Rhodes confront him in the ring. And we're going to have them face off with both titles. And then maybe they could insinuate a champion versus champion unification match for SummerSlam. And then we can go from there and then get a definitive ending to that whole BS. Because honestly, I'm sick and tired of waiting for another Mania for these two to fucking wrestle. Let's just get that shit done at SummerSlam. And let's go into WrestleMania 43 for Rock and Roman, with or without the titles. I really don't care.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when is like whatever the Night of Champions or Crown Jewel, whatever the hell it's called, the one where the champions fight anyways? Right? So like, is that before SummerSlam? I don't know.
That's after.
So like, because if that one's before SummerSlam, okay, good.
That's after.
Okay, then that's
October.
fine.
That's October.
Because the idea is like, if you're gonna do that again, right? Like, you could do it there, but it just doesn't seem like like it doesn't seem like the payoff. Because it's like if they're one against one in WrestleManias, and then one of them beats the other one on SmackDown, right? Let's say, or whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
right? It'd be kind of like if you have like two basketball teams, or two Super Bowl teams fighting each other in the Super Bowl multiple times, and then one of them wins the preseason game. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. I think the point is that like nobody can really predict this, but not in a good way, right? Not like it's unpredictable. Like I wonder what's gonna happen. It's more like how are they gonna screw this up? How bad can it get?
Yeah, because to me, like I said, it's just once again this whole thing where the main plot line is the undisputed title, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, and once again another year is here, and we're like spinning off again. This is like a spin-off show, like the Walking Dead spin-off show.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
It's just let's just get to Rick Grimes dying or some shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see Michonne. I don't want to see Daryl. Let's just get to the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want no more filler. Let's get to the point. Let's end this and let's move on, because genuinely, this is what is plaguing the WWE. Like, even CM Punk said in his interview, like in that promo segment, it's like, yeah, okay, the title does make Drew and I make the title. But like, honestly, if you're going to look at Drew McIntyre sitting next to CM Punk, I mean, who really looks like the actual champion? First of all, the belt is already more prestigious. Drew McIntyre looks more prestigious. And obviously, unfortunately for Drew McIntyre, he got his ass beat by CM Punk. So, like, he can't have that legitimacy. And, like, even in that promo segment, Roman Reigns was like, oh, my God, like, you're talking about Drew McIntyre. Hold on now. You're not talking about no chump. He's, like, about 4 times bigger than you. I'm like, Roman, come on, please. Like, please, Roman, like, stop with that goofy shit, bro. This guy literally got his ass kicked twice, bro. Like, once in a freaking strap-on match, and then another one in a Hell in a Cell, bro. Like, come on, man. Like you're making arguments that have no basis, bro. Like, I just hate when people do that, bro.
Exactly. You know yeah. I mean, like it was I guess maybe since there was some burial, some organic burying of Drew McIntyre based on what you just said, basically, right? That that we know that Drew McIntyre can say I'm the top champion, but like we remember CM Punk beating him, right? So it's like that's the ultimate like trump card, right? Being like, oh, I beat you like straight up, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you could make the counter argument, or you could be like, all right, well, at least not in a kayfabe situation, but like in a real life situation, right? Like CM Punk is the champion because Seth Rollins got hurt. You know what I mean? Like clearly this was supposed to be Seth Rollins' year,
Yeah.
and that amounted to nothing because this whole circle jerk started with CM Punk and Roman Reigns having like this mini feud last year, right? Which all of a sudden now it's a bigger deal. And, Seth Rollins being in the middle of that feud, triple threat, Rollins wins, surprising nobody, but Rollins wins, right? And these two guys are left, holding their balls like they're the two losers.
Yeah,
so now all of
exactly.
a sudden it's like, yeah, Rollins didn't have his year, Drew McIntyre had his year, at least he beat Cody, and now these two guys are just like the losers of night one are now the main event of night two. It just doesn't feel right, you know what I mean? It just feels weird. Like,
yeah, it's like I don't know where to go from here anymore because I want to think that 43 is going to be the year of Rock and Roman, but this doesn't set that up though,
Yeah,
it really
doesn't at all. Like this almost like holds it back for like one more year.
Oh my god, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, bro.
Yeah, me too. Bro,
like,
yeah, for sure.
It's like
there comes a point where like.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
It's like we get to the point where like, okay, like 40, I get it, right? Like WrestleMania 40, I get to that point where okay, it's Cody and like Roman, they didn't finish their story. That kind of held back that match with the Tribal Chief and head of the table match against Rock. Okay, I get that, but even by the time we got to that point in 2024 January, we have to acknowledge first of all that we spent an entire year stalling for Cody. He loses at 39. The night after WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar attacks him. He goes off into a spin-off feud with Lesnar. That wraps up by SummerSlam. And then from SummerSlam up until like October, this guy is a freaking tag champion. And then January rolls around 2024 or 25, whatever, right? And he wins the Rumble again. And now all of a sudden, The Rock has to kind of step aside because the WWE was just like, like jacking off for like an entire year, doing nothing.
Right.
And now like The Rock has to pay the consequences for them not moving forward. And now it's the same thing again.
You're 100% right. It's exactly the same thing. And like, I really like the term spin-off feud because it's exactly what it is, right? Like there's this bigger picture, Cody Rhodes doesn't win the title, and now it's time to like, the question obviously becomes what's next? He didn't finish the story. And you're stalling the inevitable, right? Because like we know at this point, the way that they've presented Cody is that he will win the title at some point. So maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe at SummerSlam or maybe even at Backlash. Who knows, right? Maybe he'll win it before next year's WrestleMania because surely they can't just, stall for another year and have him, like teaming up with Jey Uso. Like, who cares,
Yeah.
And then they wait all this time. Then basically nothing happens from WrestleMania to the Royal Rumble. And then Cody is in the picture again. And here we are. And with all that being said, The Rock is lost. It's hard to even say. The Rock is lost in the shuffle, because at a certain point, I think The Rock, me, you, the general fan base, like there comes a point where it's like, I don't even want the match anymore, right? Like if The Rock's going to be 60, like there comes a point where it's like, I don't care. Like, and I can't suspend my disbelief enough, I should say, to think that The Rock really cares this much about this match because it would have happened otherwise. Right?
Yeah, I know.
So it's like the longer they put it off, the less interesting it becomes.
And you would have to believe that like by the time he came into the equation, Roman was still champion. So there was this whole idea that there has to be Roman at the most elite position you can be in.
Right.
So that Rock could come in and potentially kick him off from that. But now we're going to have two champions, and both of these guys are like the people that kind of ruined it for him, Cody and Roman.
Right.
Both champions in different, separate brands. If that's going to be the case, then they're really never going to like cross paths unless it's like, crown jewel in a champion versus championship match. So at what stage is either one of them going to like, kick the stool and maybe jump ship and join the other one so that they can like, maybe go at it again? Because if Cody and Roman walk out of WrestleMania as champions, I don't know. Like, when are they going to cross paths?
Right. And you also alluded to something else where it's like if The Rock, like the whole point, the whole tagline, right, was like The Rock and Roman, like who's going to be who's the head of the family, right? Who's the head of the table? And at this point, nobody cares because the whole family angle is dead, right?
Dead.
As you said, Roman Reigns fell off the pedestal. He's now very beatable. Like Bronson Reed beat him. You know, why do I care if The Rock can beat him or not? You know what I mean? That was the question. The question was, well, since nobody else in the world can stop this guy, maybe The Rock, through the power of like Samoan family magic, right? Maybe, you know, he can sway some people to his side or whatever, right? And you can have like this pseudo fair match and it could be interesting, you know? Now, I think that's pretty much out the window. I'm sure they're going to like force it down our throats at some point. But insofar as Cody and Roman goes, it's like, this is the worst scenario, as I think you're alluding to, because it's like if they're both on top, then who is on top, right? Who like just from those two guys, if they're both champions, and it's like now we have to debate which one's the better champion and wait for like Crown Jewel. You know, it all comes to a head at Crown Jewel or SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know, and then what happens after that, right? So you know,
and you know what it is? I think conveniently we're gonna have like 1 week before Crown Jewel. I think like somebody's gonna cash in the Money in the Bank on like Roman Reigns, and now we're gonna have like Cody Rhodes wrestle against maybe LA Knight or something. Who let's hope he wins the Money in the Bank this year. We're gonna have LA Knight as the world champion against Cody Rhodes. And first of all, it's not even a title match, right? Like it's not even a title match. It's just champion versus champion, like non-title match. So so that's gonna happen. And then by the time like the Royal Rumble comes around again, maybe Roman Reigns is gonna win it again, and now we're gonna go into WrestleMania 43, and we're gonna have Cody versus Roman then. Like, come on, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then in the meantime, like you just basically booked like the next year and 2 months, right? Like what else is gonna happen, right? You know what I mean? Like not to say that like some people need the help, but like if Braun Breaker is not in the main event in the next few years, then he's done, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I've never seen someone's stock fall so much since he joined up with Paul Heyman. He's basically like a jobber at this point. He's presented as a big deal, but like all he does is lose. Like today, he just or he like loses his cool and doesn't do anything about it. So it's like, what about the rest of the roster, right? Like if the next several years of booking are like Cody Roman centric with the occasional CM Punk irrelevant match thrown in there, because this is not going to be like a classic WrestleMania main event. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. It does feel like a throwaway one, right? Compared to like, even Cody and Roman Reigns, it feels inferior to that. So it's like, what about the rest of the roster? Everyone's gonna like age out, waiting for this story to end. No story is good enough to last this long. And sure as hell, this one isn't.
Yeah, and like at this point, it's not even the same story anymore. And also, one of the biggest problems was like logistically, okay, you cannot beat Cody because, in my opinion, Cody is stronger than Roman Reigns. Like, if we're gonna have a fair, kayfabe fight in kayfabe, I believe Cody is stronger because everything alludes to that, right? Because in their first outing, you needed Sol Sikoa to spike him so you could spear him and then pin him. So, like in reality, if Sol wasn't there, you were gonna hit with a crossroads or 3 and get pinned. And that's exactly what happened the following year when your cheating got neutralized with Cody Rhodes' cheating, and then it was a fair match, and you lost, right? So in kayfabe, you're not as strong as Cody because you are a cowardly, weak-ish heel. But now you're not a heel. You're not the tribal chief. You don't have a family. Is it even the same match anymore?
Yeah, it's not at all the same match. And I think that's part of the value proposition of having Drew McIntyre become champion, because if like Cody Rhodes was the champion right now, then it's almost like Roman Reigns would have to pick Cody, right? Yeah. He would have to do it. There would be no scenario in which CM Punk could convince him, hey, don't go after the guy that you've been feuding with on and off for like 5 years. Come wrestle me instead. And in order to make this match feel like a bigger deal, what they've done is I think we're onto it, bro. Like what they've done is they've handicapped the WWE title by taking it away from Cody. Not necessarily that Drew's a bad champion, but handicapped in the sense that they made it unattractive to Roman Reigns as a character, right?
Yeah,
because
two false choices.
You said, if Cody Rhodes is the superior man, right? And if in kayfabe he's the stronger guy, then Roman Reigns would have the incentive to show that he's the stronger guy, right? But now he doesn't have the incentive to show that he's stronger than Drew McIntyre. Who cares about Drew McIntyre, right? So now that opens the gate for, Roman Reigns and CM Punk, which, I mean, whatever, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's just look at the grounds for this match as well. What the fuck are they feuding over, bro?
Yeah. I mean, Roman Reigns said he hates him. That's it, basically.
He hates him.
It doesn't make any sense, bro.
He hates him. But you tagged with him twice in War Games.
Yeah.
You hate him. He helped you out twice in War Games, but you hate him. Paul Heyman backstabbed him as much as he backstabbed you, but you hate him. You hate him, but you don't hate Rollins. So the reality is, it doesn't even matter if this is CM Punk. It could have been Rollins standing right now in front of him, and like Roman would have still picked Rollins.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was meant to be Rollins, right? I don't know like what their long-term plan was, but I think it was meant to be Rollins because that then, you know, if it is Rollins, he has a much more compelling case, right? He can be like, you know, you screwed me over last year at WrestleMania. I don't like you. You've been running roughshod over Raw. Whatever would have happened in the make-believe scenario where Roman Reigns is still the champion, right? I mean, sorry, where Seth Rollins is still the champion. But with CM Punk, it's like he hates him now, but there's no reason to hate him beyond everything that you just said, which is also 100% true. It's like last year's Roman Reigns, right? Before their WrestleMania main event, he was like not taking it seriously. Like his entire storyline was like, I don't care about either of you. You know what I mean? And like, you know, I'm the main event. Like, I'll elevate you jobbers to the main event. That was the entire story. And Roman Reigns was like on top, while Seth Rollins, his goal was to like prevent CM Punk from being a main eventer, and CM Punk's goal was to be a main eventer. Right? That was like the entire storyline. So why didn't Roman Reigns hate him last year? Right? Why did he bring up this stuff last year? Why didn't he say like, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't be in the company, like he told him tonight? Right? What could have possibly changed since WrestleMania? Roman Reigns has been there like 3 times. And like 2 of those times, he's been friends with CM Punk. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now something must have happened, and now he hates him for no reason. You can't like they can't get away with this. You know what I mean? This is just absurd.
It doesn't make any sense, and it also and it's also the same problem that the Cody match suffers from, because the reality is CM Punk is babyface, Cody Rhodes is babyface, Roman Reigns is babyface. Who is the heel, bro? Rollins could have been the heel, but he's not here. So it's just like this whole thing where, like I said, bro, we just don't want to move forward with the WWE. We're still caught up in the spin-off shit. Like Cena getting the title off of Cody, that's spin-off. Now this is spin-off. Like, I'm getting sick and like, bro, like I'm literally like, you know, just choke me to death right now, bro. Cause like, let's just move forward, bro. We just cannot move forward.
Yeah, bro. Like, I mean, I feel like everything they've done, like every big decision they've made in recent years, just, you know, I don't want to sound like an expert, like I know more than the people, but I honestly, I feel like I do. But the point is, I think that a lot of the decisions that they made were just incorrect. So like, you know, you have Cena, let's say, right? Like definitely a spinoff, but it didn't have to be, right? It could have been Cena that, like, I don't know, Cena elevates Braun Breaker or something, right? Braun Breaker retires Cena and wins the title from him, for example, right? But what they did was they basically just gave Cena like a Make-A-Wish, you know, like title run, and then Cody took it again before it was all said and done, and then Cena lost to Gunther, and nobody cares really. So the point is, like, as you said earlier, I don't know if you said it on purpose, but basically you're like, Cody Rhodes has been champion for 2 years, and even though, you know, he lost to Cena, it still feels like he's been champion for 2 years, right? The Cena title run, because it's such a side quest, it didn't feel like it didn't change anything, right?
It was only 4 months.
It's been a long time since we've had a champion that kind of like changes the story, you know?
Exactly.
So,
and we could have done it so differently, because Cena only retired a month and a little bit ago. And honestly, you've said it so many times. You simply could have had Cena hold the title up until December. And then Cody and Cena could have had the match that they had at SummerSlam for his last match. And it could have been a moment where, like, you know, we still had heel Cena, but in the match, he saw the pureness of the heart and the will of Cody Rhodes, and he just like couldn't help himself, you know, not to cheat. Like he couldn't help himself, and he just stopped cheating. He didn't do the title shot. He didn't do the cheap way. That costed him. And in that moment, he turns back babyface in the match, and then it was a passing of the torch. Yada yada yada. Everybody cries. Everybody's happy. That was the grandiose, retirement we could have had, and that truly passes the torch to Cody, which you know, kind of the way that they did at SummerSlam. But had that happened, we would have literally had Cody Rhodes as a fresh champion going into the Royal Rumble as a champion. And then
Yeah.
we could have had Sami Zayn versus Cody, and that could end it the same way. And right now today, we will be standing in front of maybe Rollins if had he not gotten injured, and the choices would have been Rollins and Cody. What would the options be? Like, what would the pick be for Tribal Chief? Come on, it's pretty obvious. It's just
Right.
Let's go to Cody. So they didn't do that because honestly, I think they just don't want Roman Reigns as champion anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's like an explanation for it, because I mean, none of it made any sense. Like, the way I see it, as you said, like, you could, if you're gonna have Cena just drop it, to Cody again, which would have worked if done, like, if Cena held it and he dropped it like in his last match, right? Because then it's like, all right, at least that match feels like a bigger deal. I don't even care if you dropped it to Gunther, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, if he drops it in his last match, so like the last match Cena has, he loses the title, right? Whoever beats him for it, it could be Tozawa, and Tozawa would be made the
Yeah.
next day, right? But like, instead of doing that, they decided to like half-ass both. They half-assed the Cody match, and then Gunther like beat him, but nobody really cares anymore. Now they have to do this whole Gunther career killer thing to establish that as a thing. And on top of all of this, it's like you had an opportunity to make, if they wanted to, a new star, right? It could have been Obafemi, for all I care. Could have been anybody, could have been made into a star. And then at the very least, you would have like some people to wrestle on night one for the main event or something, do something for next year or the Mania after that. Because at this point, all they're doing is they're like, you watch like the show and Michael Cole tells you, this guy's going to be a future main eventer at WrestleMania. And you're like, but when, bro? Because we have the next several WrestleManias. There's so many other things that need to happen first, by their own account, So it doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't feel good, bro.
And like at the same time, unfortunately, the CM Punk maybe promo or the reference that he had, the Finn Balor, think that's gonna play a role in this build-up. Yeah. I think that's gonna play a role in this build-up, unfortunately, to kill time. Because if, history is able to predict the future, I genuinely don't believe we're going to see a Roman Reigns pull up maybe a few weeks away from WrestleMania, bro. So in between that time period, we're going to have a filler feud with Finn Balor and CM Punk. And that is going to be our build-up to WrestleMania 42 for Cody and Punk. That is just ridiculous to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think there's any other possible scenario, right? Like, there's the off chance somehow Finn Balor finds himself, he weasels his way into the triple, like makes it a triple threat, but that's not going to happen. It doesn't feel that way. If that were going to happen, they would have had Finn Balor do something tonight, like maybe attack them both or something.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why he didn't, But anyways, like, you're exactly right. Like basically, Finn Balor is there to just take the L to set up CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, who's not going to show up. And at this point, even CM Punk, he can't wrestle that many times from now to Mania, because what if he gets injured, right? That ruins everything. So he has to take it easy too. And it's like, that's fine, I get that. But Finn Balor this is just like 100% filler, and it's not gonna lead to anything. And that's just there to keep CM Punk busy. There's really no other scenario that I can think of that would make sense other than that one.
Maybe if it comes full circle and the Judgment Day starts collapsing, and Liv turns on Raquel and Finn turns on Dominic, we can maybe spin off into that and put Finn into the Intercontinental title. But I would have to believe that if this has any main events, ties for Finn Balor, obviously by the time Mania rolls around, he's not going to have the title. So maybe Money in the Bank, he could win it and maybe cash it in later down in the year to, free up Roman from the title, because we know he's not going to be a real champion. So that might be a way for things to come full circle, because that is the way that he got his first title, right? Because Finn beats Roman for the Universal title when it was the first ever thing, the inaugural championship, I believe, right? Didn't he beat
Seth
Roman?
Rollins? He beat Seth Rollins, but
He beat Rollins. Okay, so
Rollins.
Yeah,
that general idea, same point.
Yeah. So that could come full circle, and that might be the way that we can relinquish everything. But maybe somebody else could come into play. What do you think about Jey Uso?
Man, I mean, I don't know what they're doing, because it's hard to kind of call it, right? Because Jimmy Uso, as my fans told me, Jimmy Uso can't show up because he has like several DUIs. So like he can't like or whatever. So he can't, get visas. He can't like, wrestle in some of these countries. So like there's been nothing on that front. And I mean, as far as I can tell, they're now just a tag team. But I mean, they have to have some sort of, you know, infighting again because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. But it's like I don't understand what the logic was. Like I mean, I thought that Jey Uso was like I don't like him very much, but I thought he was a refreshing Royal Rumble winner because it's like all right, nobody expected that, right? And that was a surprise in a good way, where it's like all right, they
Yeah.
thought of something different, right? But now
Yeah.
it's like, what are they gonna do? Like I don't see a scenario where Jey Uso ever becomes a main eventer again, you know? And I don't see a scenario where Jimmy does it either. So it's like
Yeah.
at this point, they might as well just be like that veteran tag team and hopefully get some success, though, not be like the New Day or something like that.
I
I don't see him doing anything, bro.
Yeah, like the thing is this, I might be the I might be in the minority when I say this, because like to me that is also an open storyline, kind of the same way that Cody Roman is, because if you remember, yeah,
Yep.
Roman
you're right.
Roman and Jay like were feuding, and everything came to an end
Mhm.
supposedly at SummerSlam 2023. And in that match, if you remember, like Roman was struggling to beat this guy, and it really looked like Jay was getting his
Yeah.
momentum. He was like really gonna like beat his ass, but then all of a sudden, Jimmy comes back. He turns heel. He turns on Jay, and he helps Roman win. And from that point on, it was like, okay, Roman versus Drew, then this, then that, and then like the whole Cody thing started to like kick in, and we kind of left that off.
Mhm.
And every time I
Yeah.
see Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, all I can think of is like the little brother trying to finally man up and, what I'm saying, have his big brother
Yeah.
acknowledge him, right? Obviously they're cousins, but I really would love to see that happen, because yeah, Jay tried to step up a few times, but aside from like a few, flash in the pan victories, it never really was that Roman looked at him at eye level. It was always like looking
Of
down
course
at him.
not. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was one thing I hoped would kind of get an answer, because at Perth, when Big Back Greed defeated Roman, because Jey Uso and Jey Uso fucked up, Roman was like, I don't want to see y'all anymore. I don't want to see y'all up until Christmas and yada yada yada, like kind of like scolding them. But then they
Yeah.
pull up to War Games, no mention of it. War Games
Right.
ends, no mention of it. They're in the Royal Rumble, right? Obviously, Jey Uso walks in with his 2-minute entrance. By the time he's in the ring, Roman pulls up, and Roman literally cheap shots him in his entrance. And it's like, all right. Then they fight it out. And like, have you noticed as well, when Roman Reigns came out, Jay's automatic stance was, oh yeah, this is my enemy. He wasn't like,
Exactly,
oh yeah, that's my cousin, that's my bro, we're gonna fuck everything up. No, he was like, oh shit, like he already knows what kind of a snake his cousin is. So he's already weary, right? So I would have loved for that to kind of like maybe like spawn a storyline where they can kind of go at it a little bit. But obviously he gets tossed out, and today this fucking cuck, as he would say, comes out and he congratulates his cousin. Oh yeah, put the ones in the air, put the ones in the air for my oos.
For my oos.
Like, bro.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. It didn't make any sense because, like you said, at the Rumble, that went down, right? And like in the same match, I'm like, all right, I understand what they were going for. They were going for like the Roman is serious now, like he doesn't have time to like yeet and things like that. But like he did smack his own cousin, right? And at the end, like a few minutes later, they're like teaming together, doing like the 1D. And I'm like, did you just forget that this guy just smacked you in the face like a few seconds ago?
Literally.
Like, yeah, in kayfabe, that could have led to an elimination, right? So it's like Roman Reigns signals that, like, yo, I want nothing to do with this. And Jey Uso, he's like a beaten wife. He signals like, no matter what you do to me, I'll come back. Like the whole bloodline, like Roman Reigns is like this abusive, like Godfather type figure, right? And then they keep coming back reluctantly, and Sami Zayn's like, I don't want anything to do with this. And then all of a sudden, Roman doesn't show up anymore. And every week, it's like the Usos and Sami Zayn are getting their ass beat by Solo Sikoa for like a year and a half, because they're standing up for Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns doesn't care about them. Like, at least that's how it's portrayed. And Jey Uso, who's supposed to be like, the leader of like the bloodline beyond Roman Reigns, like he's like their guy, right? and
Mm-hmm.
he has been screwed over by Roman. He's been beaten by Roman, and it's like you do need some sort of resolution to this, and the resolution cannot be like, "You did it, Oos. Yeah, 4 letters, 1 word." It can't be
Yeah.
that. It has to be something more, But like, I fear that he's just like in this tag team situation now, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like he has to wrestle Jimmy before, like, because how are they gonna break up the tag team otherwise? Like they just got back together.
Honestly, I think they're gonna have to tap back into what they were building up, late last year, where Jey like was kind of mean, like he was kind of turning heelish. He was attacking CM Punk. He was attacking LA Knight because Roman told him, "Look, man, you got to earn your respect," and that's what kind of ticked him off. And even afterwards, it's like, okay, Roman then comes back and he's like, I'm proud of you, bro, but then he loses to LA Knight clean for the title eliminator. Then he crashes out. He tosses over the prime bottles and stuff like that. You would think, okay, this might be the beginning of something new for Jey. But the following week, he hugs his twin brother, and now they're tag champions again. So hopefully they can tap into that and have Jey turn on Jimmy, and then that might distract Roman. And instead of like us going into like a stupid spinoff, maybe Jey Uso can cost Roman Reigns a title match at WrestleMania, and then we can finally solve this whole big issue between Jey and Roman, because in my opinion, that is on par with the importance level of, I think Jey and Roman versus, like Jey versus Roman is as important as Cody versus Roman, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you've articulated, I didn't even think about it that way, but I think you articulated it very well. There's been so many starts and stops, or like things that have felt like that with this storyline, right?
Exactly.
You've had, there was like, I remember just out of the top of my head, there was one Raw that ended with like Roman saving the Usos, and Roman like gives props to Jey, and he shakes his hand, right? And then Jimmy's like in the background, kind of like butthurt, right?
Yeah.
So I thought they were gonna do something with that, right? Where Jimmy Uso feels like what he is, the lower level lackey, right? He feels the way that he is, the way God made him, bro. Inferior to his brother and cousin. So he feels that type of way. And the idea is like, well, how much longer is Jimmy Uso going to just accept this role, especially considering that he's taken all these things? And in that, there's also the much bigger storyline of, will Jey Uso, because like this is a question that's been going on since Roman Reigns became champion, right? Like, will Jey Uso step out of Roman Reigns' shadow? Is a question we've been asking for like 6 years, And he gets close. He tries, he fails, he falls back in line. And there was that one promo where like when Jey Uso was turning face, and he had to feud with Jimmy, but where like Roman Reigns says, Jey will do what he always does, fall in line, right? It's like, when is Jey, like that's actually a very compelling storyline. Like, when is Jey not gonna fall in line?
Yeah.
Because I think people will get behind that big time, right? It's like, because we all feel that way sometimes, right? Sometimes we always feel like we're second place. And it's like, not me, not anymore,
Yeah.
So you'd get massive pops. It would be nice, man. It'd be nicer than what we're getting.
So would you also agree, like, if that were to be the storyline that we fall back onto after Mania, that Jey, like, first of all, this guy has to take some speech classes. Second of all, maybe shoot some steroids up, get in shape. And like, maybe
grow
out
a lot of improvement.
Yeah, like if he does the bare minimum of improvements, maybe like wear some high insoles so he can be like 6'3" and like eye level with Roman, whatever, right? Like if he does just the small improvements, do you believe that he should go over on Roman, because he can be like the daily successor, because he'll be there every week.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, like, I think Roman Reigns now, I mean, who knows? Because Roman Reigns just, he just won the Rumble. But right now, Roman Reigns should be in that phase of he becomes this, like, I don't want to say gatekeeper, because he's like obviously like, technically a legend in this business now. But absolutely, the story has to end with Jey Uso going over Roman, right? Because otherwise, right, the question that I just asked cannot be answered, right? When will Jey Uso step out of Roman's shadow can only be answered with Jey Uso beating Roman. If it's answered by, well, he tried and failed again, then it's like, all right, we've established that Jey Uso just can never beat Roman Reigns. And it's like, why not? Everybody else is beating Roman Reigns nowadays. So it's like, I mean, not everybody, but you know what I mean? So like,
exactly.
It has to come to an end with that. Like, if I thought Like when Jey Uso first started wrestling Roman Reigns, I thought this would be like just like a like a throwaway match because Jimmy was injured, so they're like, all right, we'll do like a blood feud match, and then eventually like they'll form the bloodline. I saw where this was going, and I'm like, obviously Jey Uso's not gonna beat Roman Reigns when he just became the champion, but I never thought this would continue later on into the same story again and again and again, all the way up to like the Usos versus Roman and Solo Sikoa. Where
Yeah.
it's like now it's becoming like like the bloodline civil war, as I said, right? Where now it's becoming a thing, and the only person that benefited from that really is Jey Uso. Roman Reigns was already
Yeah.
the champion. Solo Sikoa, nothing came of that. Jimmy Uso is just a lackey. So
Yeah.
like Jey Uso, out of that, won the Royal Rumble, and it's like if you want to keep this guy in the main event, he needs like a big win, and he needs to finish the unfinished business because it's been 6 years, man.
Yeah.
It's been 6 years of him feeling inferior to Roman and showing it consistently, like as you said, right?
Yeah.
Showing it all the time.
Every single time.
Every time every time they see each other, there's like a tension, right? And it's like, the viewer is primed to like when they see tension to be like, all right, when is this tension gonna like be resolved? And he needs to go over Roman. Like that needs to happen. If that doesn't happen, that's just crazy. Because I feel like they've been building for that for years.
That's such a crime if it doesn't. And it's also this like I said, like if like Jey goes over, then the Roman Reigns redemption arc can actually start, because they kind of had like a fake one after he lost the title and he came back when like after Solo Sikoa. Remember that? Like, do you remember that when like Roman was like trying to like collect Jimmy, and then like Jimmy's like, "Yo, Oos, we ain't doing that no more, cuz." You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We ain't doing that no more, cuz. You know what I'm saying? We equals now. You can't be bossing us around no more. And I'm saying, and then it was like that whole thing where like he needed backup for like the War Games match because like Solo was like bullying him, right? And then, oh yeah, Jey, come on, Jey, I'm proud of you. You're the IC champion. I'm proud of you, what you've done for the family. But it's like, why does that redemption arc happen without the initial like action? Like the redemption arc isn't because you beat Solo or you lost the title. The redemption arc should only start and begin after Jey whoops you and humbles you.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
There was something during that kind of storyline, or like a little bit later, where I forget who it was, but someone was like, Roman, like, you helped them out, like they were talking to Jey, right? Like, you helped them out, you did this, you did that, but he never apologized, right? Like someone pointed that out to Jey Uso, basically being like, look, man, you are basically Roman's lackey. Like him, Jimmy, and Sami Zayn fell in line during that like War Game situation, right? They came back like beaten wives, and like Roman never even said, "I'm sorry for doing this," right?
Yeah,
he was just like, "Hey, I need you guys." And they're like, "Yes, sir." I mean, first they said, "We're not doing that anymore," and then they said, "Yes, sir." And they were back to being full-time lackeys. So it's like, in order for Roman Reigns to feel like a face, he needs to, I mean, at minimum, apologize to Jey Uso, because he's the one that he wronged the most. But he needs, more likely than not, he needs an ass beating. The only problem with that is that, like, if they have plans of doing, let's say, Roman versus Cody or Roman versus The Rock, right? Well, if Jey Uso beats Roman before he wrestles The Rock, right? Then it's like, what am I watching here? I'm watching like The Rock, one of the best of all time, wrestle the guy that lost to Jey Uso.
Yeah.
That's the only issue with it. So like, I don't know. It's about timing, but like, I do feel like it's gonna have to happen at some point.
At some point, and it's also something that could have happened in the last 2 years. Like Roman comes out and says like, nothing has happened in the last 2 years. But it's like, that could have happened.
That could have happened, yeah. Jey Uso became champion in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe Jey Uso feels some type of way about Roman saying that, and they have a match. But yeah. But they didn't go with it, man. Like, and now it's WrestleMania season, so like, it's not happening until like the next time Roman comes back after Mania, which God knows when that's going to be. Probably SummerSlam.
So like a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted like potential. Like that, like these are all storylines that could have paid off. We could have had Roman, Rock. We could have had Jey versus this. We could have had so many things. And unfortunately, we are yet once again walking into another WrestleMania with another filler feud that takes away from the main two, Roman Reigns plot lines. It is obviously going to be Cody and Roman, and Jey and Roman. But it's like, here we are again, not addressing either of them. And I'm, completely sick and tired of it. If anything is to go by, from this current moment onward, honestly, this WrestleMania is probably going to be even worse than last year's.